Is there an issue? I feel like we haven't talked really at all about the Second Amendment. I don't think there's been a ton of time spent on China, zero time spent really on veterans, military, national defense. There really isn't a topic that this one's come at. What do you think is something that you would like to see more of out of this debate that you haven't heard already?
I think China is definitely something I want to hear about how someone's going to handle that. Recently, Trump has this talking point that he's the only person that can prevent World War III and that he knows all the players. And that's true. If you are a suburban mom and you hear that, like him or not, what he says is very true. Nikki Haley might be able to, rebut that a little bit. But at the end of the day, Trump's the person. What I want to hear, though, is kind of what I'd mentioned early about Chris Christie. When I look at that debate stage, and if it only ends up being those three people, DeSantis, Haley, and Vivek, they all, when they're asked about Trump, they demur a lot. They don't go after him. And that is the person to beat. He is the front runner by 50 points. If you look at
Lindsay, do you think that that's a bad strategy? Like, I think that going after Trump doesn't get, let's call it 50% of the people like Trump. And I think going after Trump versus, I've always thought that the strategy is try to become the alternative to Trump. Get everyone to realize that if you don't like him, I can be that vessel. Do you think that they should be going more after him or that they should try to consolidate that second place lane?
Well, it's a good question, Sean. I think it's how they go after Trump. Really, what I want to hear from these candidates is how are they going to govern differently? They really take the America First policy and then just try to rebrand it to themselves. And you've heard Vivek say, MAGA isn't specific to one person, but ultimately you have a person who did it so well and they're running again. So why are you running against them? If I look at what Trump really did well and what's going to matter in 2024, it's the economy. And they keep going up against Bidenomics. Well, I can do this about Bidenomics. But at the end of the day, what can you do better than Trump? What can you do better than how he ran the economy when he was president? Because that's what I need to hear from you, not how you're going to beat Biden, how you could beat Trump, and how you can make the economy successful in 2024 and beyond. And none of them have been able to answer that, frankly. Right. And none of them actually have an answer either to China. Nikki Haley a little bit, but really stop it. I think when people think I go against Trump, they think I need to attack him like we see Chris Christie do. What you need to say is how your policies are going to be better than what you saw him do for 4 years and how you can go stronger, not how you can build upon America first. I haven't heard anyone say that.
Tony, do you think that there's enough time being spent by these candidates talking about how they contrast themselves with Biden, or should they be spending more time contrasting themselves with the frontrunner, Donald Trump?
The answer is yes. It's 50-50 because even going back to that last debate we talked about not going after Trump, no one discussed Biden. You would have forgotten that any of them were actually running against Joe Biden. This is the only time that they have to do it. The argument of, and I totally agree, it has been paint yourself as the alternative. Oh, Trump this. Oh, there's the indictments here. He's crazy this. It's too much baggage there. But the polling has not shown any of that. So if there's going to be a pivot, the pivot is now. And I don't think that pivot is for someone like Nikki Haley. And there is no room in that pivot for Vivek Ramaswamy because the Trump supporter is the Ramaswamy supporter. I don't think I'm speaking out of school there. It is for Ron DeSantis. He comes off what can be seen as a rather good appearance against Gavin Newsom, where Gavin Newsom's wife threw in the towel to stop a debate from happening. I think he can take some of that momentum and make that pivot. He's the only guy who has that option, has that opportunity. And I question whether or not he'll take it because results-wise, he does excellent work in Florida. He's got a record. Campaigning-wise, and you guys have been following more campaigns than I have just in terms of your careers, his campaign seems to be pretty much a mess.
So I want to get to that in just a second. I want to get to his campaign, the endorsements, whatever. But let's go around the horn real quick. Just, Hogan, name an issue that you really want to hear something about at this debate.
China. I think China, what we've already said, China 100%.
Lindsay?
Yeah, I echo that. And dealing with Taiwan as well, because that is really going to be the crux there.
Tony Katz?
I want to hear explicit examples and policy discussions of what you're going to do about the southern border. Not comprehensive immigration reform, actual specific policies.
Yeah, I wonder if because there's at most 4 at this debate, whether we're going to let them, because it's interesting, going on for 60 seconds, anybody can do that and just throw out a ton of buzzwords. When you get to 2 minutes plus, you got to have some heft in there, some substance. And I want to see if that happens.